Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is the story about Naruto. What if Naruto was son of Tsunade? Part 4. Hope you'll enjoy this video. So before we start, please do support for more awesome content and also hit the subscribe button and share this video with your friends and also support the creator of this fanfic. I have created many playlists, check it out in the channel. So let's start the video. There is no mistake, Tsunade-sama, so you can remove your disguise, replied the man. Tsunade narrowed her eyes, after which she then changed her form from a short red-haired woman with blue eyes to her usual form. So who are you, and how did you know where I was staying and that I was in disguise? Asked Tsunade, as she was on guard because the man was some sort of assassin or kidnapper. My name is Tatuho, and I am one of the personal bodyguards of the High Priestess Lady Moroku, ruler and protector of Oni no Kuni, said the man named Tatuho. The High Priestess? Asked Tsunade in surprise. Hi, and she is in great need of your help, Tsunade-sama, said Tatuho, and he bowed down to her again. Lady Moroku is gravely ill due to an assassination attempt on her life by an assassin from a rival country who had hoped to kill her to disrupt the leader of our country. Fortunately, Lady Moroku was able to foresee the attack and warn us about it, where we were able to capture him, but unfortunately the assassin had a backup plan and had poisoned her food. The best doctors in our land have tried to help her, but all have failed. She had even recently went into a coma due to the poison. You are our only hope she has of surviving, please, Tsunade-sama. I beg you, save Lady Moroku, said Tatuho, still keeping his head on the ground. Before I say anything, I want you to answer a question for me, Tsunade said without showing any emotion. How did you find out that I was here and that I was in disguise? Asked Tsunade, since she needed to know who they knew she was here. Before Lady Moroku went into her coma, she had one last vision where she saw you in disguise in this village with your student and a young blonde boy who she believed was your son, said Tatuho. At this, Tsunade frowned and went into deep thought and said nothing. After several minutes of silence, Tsunade spoke up again. Very well, I will help heal the High Priestess, but on one condition. Name it, Tsunade-sama, and it will be done, I swear, said Tatuho as he stood up. Before I tell you, I want to know, other than yourself and the High Priestess, does anyone else know about the vision that she had about my son and me? Asked Tsunade. No. Lady Moroku only told me of her vision about you and your son, replied Tatuho. Good, then my condition is simple, that both you and the High Priestess swear not to reveal the fact that I have a son to anyone until the day it is officially known to other countries. Since I have many enemies out in the world that would come after my son just to get to me, and until the day he is either strong enough to defend himself or has enough protection, no one can know that he even exists. Is that clear? Said Tsunade forcefully, since she would allow no harm to come to her son. Of course, Tsunade-sama, I understand perfectly, and I swear no one will learn the existence of your son from me, and I'm certain Lady Moroku will agree as well, replied Tatuho. Good, because should you or the High Priestess ever break your oath and leak the information about my son to others, and it puts him in danger, I swear there will be no place on this earth that you can hide from me. Is that clear? Threatened Tsunade in a deadly tone as she flooded the room with her killing intent, making Tatuho freeze in fear and cause a cold sweat to run down his back. Hi. Tsunade-sama, I understand perfectly, said Tatuho fearfully, as he had never been so scared in his entire life. Good, then we will leave in 1 hour, said Tsunade as she stood up to go and talk to Shizune. When Tsunade left, Tatuho slouched down and let out a large sigh as the killing intent died out. Truly, there is nothing more dangerous in this world than a mother protecting her child, though Tatuho shivered slightly in fear as the memory of Tsunade killing intent was still fresh in his mind. 3 days later. After about 3 days of traveling, Tsunade and the group soon arrived at the estate for the High Priestess of the Demon Country. When they arrived at the main gate, Tsunade had her special genjutsu activated on both her and Shizune so as to make sure that no one would know it was her. The excuse as to why she was here was based sort of on the truth, where Tatuho had told the guards that she was a healer from a far-off village that was said to be highly skilled in poisons and could help the High Priestess. When Tsunade entered the room, she had Tatuho dismiss all the servants and other healers in the room so that she could begin her work without being bothered. When all the servants and the other healers were gone, Tsunade cancelled the henge over her and Shizune and began to diagnose the High Priestess. After a few minutes, Tsunade finished her diagnosis on High Priestess and turned to Tatuho, who remained in the room. I'm afraid that the toxin that the High Priestess has been poisoned with was a highly toxic and highly dangerous one, that even some of the most skilled healers would have difficulty treating, spoke Tsunade. What exactly is the poison, Tsunade-sama, and what does it do? Asked Tatuho. The poison came from a very rare and highly toxic mushroom called the black spotted mushroom. It can be made into a powder, gas or liquid form, where it can be breathed in, injected or ingested through food. Once the poison is in the body, it destroys the cells, causing the body and the organs to fail and slowly killing the person over time. The effects typically include a nagging cough and other undetectable but common symptoms. It is very hard to detect and even harder to cure, said Tsunade grimly. Can you treat it as Tsunade-sama? Asked Tatuho worriedly. Yes, I can, by extracting the poison from her body, but it will be difficult, replied Tsunade. Whatever you need, Tsunade-sama, please tell me, and I shall get it, said Tatuho. I need you to get several large bowls of hot water and bring them here, ordered Tsunade, as she was going into her healer mode, where she got Shizune and Naruto to help her get everything needed to help the high priestess. Soon enough, Tatu, who had servants, brought over 24 bowls of hot water to the door, where he then brought them into the room. Tsunade then had him and Shizune helped restrain the high priestess when she extracted the poison from the high priestess' body. Once Shizune and Tatuho had restrained the high priestess and were holding onto her to make sure that she stayed still, Tsunade then used her Chakura no Mesu, chakra scalpel, to make an incision into one of the affected parts of the high priestess' body, after which she used her Seiken Shutsu no Jutsu, delicate illness extraction technique. When she extracted the toxin from the high priestess' body, it was a slow process and was quite painful for the high priestess, for even though she was unconscious, her body struggled in pain. Naruto also did his part to help by changing the water each time for his mother as she slowly extracted the poison from the high priestess' body. After about an hour or so of slow and painful extraction, Tsunade had finally extracted the last of the poison out of the high priestess' body. It's done, virtually all the poison is out of her body now, sighed Tsunade as she wiped the sweat off her brow. Then will Lady Moroku recover? Asked Tatuho hopefully. She should, once I have used some of the extracted poison to help make a medicine that will take care of the remainder of the poison in her body and help her body recover more quickly. I will also stay for a while here to make sure that the high priestess does not suffer any relapses or something else happens, since she is in a fragile state right now. Thank you, Tsunade-sama, I cannot thank you enough, we are forever in your debt, said Tatuho as he was kneeling on the floor with his head down in gratitude to Tsunade. To which Tsunade just nodded. Do you have a greenhouse area and a medical area I can use to make medicine for the high priestess? Asked Tsunade. Yes, we do. I shall have a servant lead you there immediately. Ka-chan, can I help too? Asked Naruto, who wanted to help as well. Thank you, Naru-chan, but you can't because it is very hard to do and you're not ready yet. Why don't you go with Tuntun out to the garden and play, said Tsunade. Groaned Naruto, since he wanted to help, plus he didn't have anyone really to play with. Sure, he had Tuntun and he liked playing with her. It was just that he would have liked to play with other kids his own age, since it was hard for him to make and keep friends, since he was always moving from place to place with his mother, Ni-chan, and Tuntun. Naruto-san, if you like, maybe you can play with Lady Moroku, daughter Shion, since I was about to go to her and tell her that her mother will be okay, since she has been very worried about her. I'm sure that Shion would love to have someone her own age to play with, since she does not have many friends to play with, as well, said Tatuho kindly, as he knelt down to Naruto. Tatuho knew that Shion had been very worried for her mother when she started to fall ill. Ever since then, the poor young girl had been crying herself to sleep, since she had been so worried about her mother dying and leaving her alone. This was because her mother was all she had, since her father had died in a horse riding accident when she was only a year old, and she did not really have any friends. Like her mother, she had the power to see into the future, but since she was so young she could not control it and would often see people's deaths. This caused people to fear her, especially other children, since they thought that if they went near her, they would die, hence they would run away from her. He hoped that once he brought the good news about her mother and Naruto to play with her, it would brighten the girl up. He only hoped that Naruto would not be scared away from Shion, since the girl was desperately lonely and badly needed a friend. When they left the room, Tatuho had 2 guards placed inside the high priestess room and 2 outside the room to make sure no more assassins would try to get in. After which he then called a servant over and ordered him to show Tsunade and Shizune, who had their hinges back on, where the medical area and the greenhouse area was. After that, Totsuho then led Naruto and Tuntun, who was following Naruto, to where Xian's room was and told her the good news about her mother. Xian bedroom. Currently in her bedroom, the young daughter of the high priestess Xian was in the corner of her bedroom. She was sitting down on the floor with her legs held tightly against her chest and her head against her legs. Her eyes were puffy red from crying for most of the time, since she was worried for her mother and was afraid that she would die and leave her all alone. Xian was wearing a long yellow and gold robe-like coat with red baggy pants and a plain white shirt. She also wore her long blonde hair down and had a round glass-like charm that would ring like a tiny bell hung on the left-hand side of her head. As she sat quietly in her little corner, she heard a knock on her door. "Go away, I told all of you to just leave me alone," cried Xian, since she did not want to talk to anyone. "Xian-san, it is me, Totsuho. I have news about your mother, may I please enter?" spoke Totsuho. "Akasan?" said Xian, after which she let Totsuho in. "Did Akasan say Xian?" as she tried to say the word she dreaded, but found she could not. "No, she did not, Xian-san," said Totsuho, since he knew what the girl was thinking. She is actually much better now. I was able to make contact with a healer that lived in one of the outer villages and had her come here to heal your mother. Thanks to her, she was able to heal your mother and is now working on a medicine that will help her mother get better." "You mean Akasan isn't going to die?" asked Xian, as she dared to hope. Totsuho just nodded to her that it was true, where Xian then ran over to Totsuho and hugged him tightly and started to cry again, but this time with tears of joy. After a few minutes, Xian finally stopped crying and looked up at Totsuho and spoke. "Can I see Akasan?" "I'm afraid not, Xian-san, since your mother is still in a coma, but I'm sure she will awaken very soon, and once she does and has regained some of her strength, you can see her, I promise," said Taho, to which Xian just nodded. "Also, Xian-san, I have something else to tell you," said Totsuho, which caused the girl to look at him curiously. "The healer I bought has a son named Naruto. He is about your age, and like you, he doesn't really have that many friends since he moves around a lot with his mother. Also, since his mother is staying here for a while, I thought you and him could meet and become friends, since he doesn't really have anyone to play with either." At this, Xian began to get worried, since she was afraid that, like the other children she tried to play with, he would run away and call her a freak like all the others. "But won't he just run away like all the others?" said Xian. At this, a sad look appeared over Totsuho, since he felt for the poor girl, since she was very lonely and just wanted a friend, and he hoped that Naruto would be that friend for her. "I do not think he will be, Xian-san, since he seems to be a very kind young boy, and I'm sure he just wants to be your friend if you let him." After a bit of convincing, Totsuho was finally able to get Xian to agree to at least talk to Naruto as long as Taho was here with her. After which, Totsuho then opened the door and brought Naruto in, who was accompanied by Tuntun. "Hi," greeted Naruto when he saw Xian, who was hiding behind Taho shyly. When Naruto greeted her, Xian did not speak and she just hid behind Totsuho for fear of being rejected by Naruto like all the other children she had tried to befriend. Seeing how nervous and shy Xian was, Naruto decided to go over to her, where he went around Totsuho so that he could face her. "Hello Xian, my name is Naruto. Would you like to play with me, since there aren't really any other kids around, and since my Ka-chan is going to be here for a little while, it would be nice if I had someone else to play with," said Naruto. At first Xian said nothing, but after a few minutes Xian suddenly spoke. "Do you really want to play with me?" "Yay. You're not afraid of me?" asked Xian, where she began to hope that she might actually have a friend. "Why would I be? It's just that other kids run away from me and call me a freak because I can see things that they can't. Then those kids are all idiots if they say that. My Ka-chan told me that no matter how different we are or what we can do, no one should be treated unfairly and no one should be alone." "So you really want to be my friend?" asked Xian, to which Naruto just nodded and held out his hand, which Xian nervously took hold of. "Oink!" cried Tuntun. This caused Xian and Naruto to take notice of her. "Oh, sorry Tuntun, I forgot to introduce you. Xian, this is Tuntun, my family pet, and my friend," introduced Naruto. "Hello Tuntun," said Xian as she kneeled down and started to pet Tuntun on the head and scratched behind her ear, which the small big enjoyed very much. "Hey, do you want to go play tag with Tuntun and me?" asked Naruto. "Sure," said Xian, after which Naruto then grabbed a hold of Xian where they and Tuntun ran off outside. As the two children and the pig ran off, Tatuho could not help but smile since it was the first time that he saw Xian smile in a very long time. He was also happy to see that she finally had a friend that was not scared of her. Outside in the estate garden. For the next hour or two Xian, Naruto, and Tuntun played together happily, where they played games like tag, hide, and seek. After that Xian showed Naruto around the estate, she even brought Naruto to a hidden part of the garden where her mother and she would plant flowers. "This is where Akasan and I go sometimes to plant flowers," said Xian to Naruto as he looked around at the different flowers. As Naruto looked around he saw a dying flower bush near the end of the flower patch. "What's wrong with that?" asked Naruto as he pointed to the dying flower bush. When Xian saw what Naruto was pointing at she could not but blush and look down in shame. "That was a rose bush that I tried to grow by myself since most of the flowers here were grown by Akasan and the rest were grown by me with Akasan help. I told her I wanted to do one by myself but it was harder than I thought it would be with Akasan help. No matter what I tried, it wouldn't grow right and start to die," said Xian sadly and embarrassed. "If you'd like, I can help," offered Naruto. "What can you do?" asked Xian. "Well, there is a special trick that I learned and could do that might help. But you have to promise that you won't tell anyone, not even your Ka-chan or Tatuho-san, okay?" said Naruto. "Okay. I promise." "Pinky swear," said Naruto holding out his pinky finger. "Pinky swear," repeated Xian as she locked her pinky finger with Naruto's. "Okay then," said Naruto as he went over to the dying bush where he grabbed hold of the main trunk part of the bush and started to channel chakra into the rose bush. At first Xian was confused as to why Naruto was grabbing a hold of the rose bush. But before she could ask him, she saw the rose bush beginning to grow bigger and bigger. It then started to sprout leaves and then rose flowers, and right before Xian the rose bush became fully bloomed. "How did you do that?" asked Xian in awe when Naruto had gotten up and dusted off his pants. "It's a special power that I have, it's called Mokuton, wood release, it's a Kekkei Genkai, bloodline. It's kind of like your powers." Xian told Naruto about her powers, said Naruto. "What exactly can you do with it?" asked Xian. "Well, like you saw, I can make trees and plants grow. My great-grandfather had the same ability, although he could only grow trees I can also help grow plants. My great-grandfather could do loads of cool things with it, where he could make trees or entire forests wherever he wanted. He could even make wooden mansions or houses out of nowhere. He also created my Ka-chan home village Konoha and the massive forest that surrounds it in a single day," said Naruto with a bit of pride for how powerful his great-grandfather was, while Xian was just in awe. "Also, from what Ka-kan told me, he was also able to use his power in the same kind of way your power works," said Naruto, which got a confused look at Xian. "My great-grandfather was able to use Mokuton to help suppress and control demons and seal them away." "Can you do that?" asked Xian in surprise, which Naruto answered by shaking his head. "No, or at least not yet, since I'm nowhere near what my great-grandfather can do, since I can't grow a big giant tree out of nowhere like he could. The best I can do is be able to grow trees and flowers out of seeds that I buy and grow them in the different ways and shapes I want them to. According to Ka-chan, I have a long way to go before I ever get to my great-grandfather's level, since I have to learn it by myself for now." "Can't your Akasan help you to get better at being able to do it?" asked Xian. "She can't, since she can't do it. I'm the only one in my family that can do it, since my great-grandfather was the only person who could do it in my clan," said Naruto. "What about you, Oda-san, father couldn't help?" asked Xian, but instantly regretted it when a sad look came across Naruto's face. "I don't have a Tachan," another less formal way to say father, or at least not now. "He died just when I was born from what Ka-chan told me." She doesn't talk about it much, since every time I ask she gets this angry look on her face and changes the subject, sighed Naruto. "Sorry," said Xian sadly. "It's okay, I never knew him, and I will probably find out about him later on, so there is no problem," said Naruto as he put on a happy face. "So are there any other things you can do?" asked Xian to change the subject. "Yay, there are some other things I can do, but I can't say, since I could get in a lot of trouble with Ka-chan if I did. Hell, I get in a lot already if she found out I told you about me being able to do Mokuton." "Why's that?" asked Xian. "Ka-chan told me that there are a lot of bad people out there that would like to take me away because of me being able to do Mokuton. This is because I'm the first one to be able to do it since my great-grandfather. If those people found out, they come after me and take me away from my family. They would then make me use my powers to do a lot of bad things for them since thanks to my great-grandfather power. He was able to become one of the strongest ninjas around, and since I have the same power, those bad people would think I could be just as powerful as he was, hence they would want me under their control. That is why I have to keep my powers secret from everyone until I'm strong enough. Can you really become as strong as your great-grandfather? Asked Xian. One day maybe, since Ka-chan and Shizune Ni-chan are training me, as well as Iro Senin, my perverted uncle. The last comment got a confused look from Xian until Naruto explained how Jiraiya would peek at women when in the hot spring. This of course caused Xian to scowl, finding what Jiraiya did disgusting. Besides, it's my dream one to become stronger than my hero, the Yondaime Hokage, who defeated Kyuubi by himself. It is also my dream to become a great healer like Ka-chan and become a Konoha ninja like the rest of my family were, as well as become Hokage like my great-grandfather, my great-great-uncle, and like the Yondaime, said Naruto. Well, I think you can do it, said Xian, which caused Naruto to smile and blush slightly. After that the two continued to talk with one another about different things for a few hours, although Naruto didn't mention or show any more of his abilities to Xian since he didn't want to get into more trouble with his mother because she found out he told Xian. This continued until they were called by Tatuho and a few of the other guards to come for dinner. 3 days after Tsunade had extracted the poison from the high priestess' body, the high priestess awoke from her coma. When Xian found out, she immediately went to her mother and cried in her arms. The high priestess was equally happy at seeing her daughter and was even more so when she learned that Xian and Naruto had become friends. During her recovery period, the high priestess often watched the two children play since it made her happy to see her daughter be a normal child and playing with another child. During the following 2 weeks since Naruto and his family arrived at the estate, both he and Xian spent every day playing with one another along with Tuntun. Often enough Xian would even watch Naruto train with his mother. When she first saw Tsunade type of training, she was afraid that she might hurt Naruto. But Shizune assured her that he would be okay, which he was despite the bruises he would have, which would go away after a few minutes thanks to his quick healing after training. It was at this time that Naruto was running to the main gate of the estate to meet Xian and 5 of her guards. Both he and Xian had asked both their mothers if it would be okay for them to go to the small park outside the nearby village so that they could go and play on the swing and slides as well as the other things there, since there were none of them in the estate. Both the high priestess and Tsunade had agreed as long as they had some guards with them and were always in sight of them. When Naruto reached the gate, he saw Xian, her mother, who came to say goodbye to Xian since she could not go with them as she was still recovering, along with the 5 guards were waiting for him. When Xian greeted Naruto, she saw that he had a necklace around his neck with a large green crystal on it. When she got a better look at it, she recognized it as the same necklace he had seen his mother wear around her neck. Naruto-kun, is that your Akasan necklace? Asked Xian. Hi, I found it in our bathroom, where Ka-chan must have left it. I tried to find her to give it to her since it's really valuable, but I couldn't find her, so I kept it around my neck so I won't lose it, answered Naruto. That's very kind of you, Naruto. Now you and Xian have a nice time playing in the park and don't stray too far from the guards so that they can see you, okay, said Moroku. We will, Akasan, replied Xian as she and Naruto walked out the gate with the guards. At the park. When the group arrived at the park, the 2 young children ran off to play on the different play equipment like the slide, seesaw, jungle gym, merry-go-round, sandbox, spring rider, swing set, and chin-up bars. As the children played together, the 5 guards watched them carefully and kept an eye out for any trouble. Unfortunately, trouble had already found them. Hidden in the tree line beside the park. Unknown to the children and the guards, 3 Tsunade nins, rain ninjas, hid in the tree line watching them and waiting for the chance to strike. So how long do we wait, Maku? Asked one of the aim nins. We wait till the moment is right, Ken, answered the ninja called Maku to the other aim ninja. Maku was a middle-aged man and was medium built with jet black hair, gray eyes, and a round face and wore a standard chunin out for an aim nin. He wore a yellow shirt with a gray-blue flak jacket over it and black pants with a weapons pouch strapped to them. The ninja named Ken was a young man in his mid-20s. He had long brown hair that he had tied up into a ponytail. He also had blue eyes and had a tin face. Also like Maku, he wore a yellow shirt with a gray-blue flak jacket over it and black pants with a weapons pouch strapped to them. We wouldn't even have to do this if that fool the Sawa no Kuni, swamp country, daimyo sent had done his job right, or if he had just sent us instead to kill the high priestess, said the third member of the AIM group. I know came, but what is done, and, as long as we get paid for the job I don't really care, replied Maku. The man named Kame was the youngest of the group, who was just in his 20s. He had red hair and green eyes and had a narrowing face. Also, like the rest of his group, he wore a yellow shirt with a grey-blue flak jacket over it and black pants with a weapons pouch strapped to them, as well as a short tanto sword strapped to his back. But why do we even have to kidnap the girl anyhow? Can't we just go and kill the high priestess ourselves? Asked Kame. We can't kill her because the high priestess guards are on alert and will guard her constantly, not to mention the high priestess may use her powers to see into the future like she did before and see our attack and have her guards be ready. So the best way for us to kill her is to kidnap her daughter and hold her for ransom. Once the high priestess comes to us with the ransom, we kill her, answered Maku. But isn't there a chance that the high priestess might see that it's a trap and not come? Spoke Ken. Doesn't matter if she does know it's a trap, she still comes from, as long as there is a chance that she might save her daughter, she takes it, since a mother will do anything to protect or save its child. Besides, when we do lay the trap, we will have more than one type of trap to kill her with, and even she won't be able to predict all of our traps and attacks, said Maku. But what do we do with the daughter once we kill her mother? Do we kill her as well, or what? Asked Kame. We took her back to Sawa Daimyo, since he told me if we can take the girl alive, then he will pay us double our fee. Since when the girl reaches the right age he will marry her, this would then allow him to gain control of Oni no Kuni legally. Not to mention a wife that can see into the future would be very useful to him, and any children he would have with her would most likely have her power, making her more valuable to him, said Maku. Both Kame and Ken nodded in understanding, but could not help but be slightly disgusted with the fact that they were handing over a 7-year-old girl to the Sawa Daimyo. Since the Sawa Daimyo was a 50-year-old man who was overweight and bald, and the fact that he was planning to make the young girl his wife made them all the more sick. But they quickly shook off their disgust, since they were paid to do a mission, and, as long as they got paid, it was of no concern to them what happened to the girl. Alright you two, our man has just signaled us, get ready to move in and kill the guards on my command, ordered Maku, which the other men responded by nodding their heads in understanding. During that time, one of the guards named Haru was happily watching Shion and Naruto play with one another on the swing. Like many of the guards in the high priestess estate, he saw how sad and lonely Shion was, but with Naruto she was happily playing and acting like a regular young girl. Haru was a young man in his early 20s, he was about medium height and built, he had spiked silver hair with a round face and purple eyes, and unlike the rest of the guards he carried a large broadsword on his back. Haru also did not wear the traditional outfit of a guardsman of Oni no Kuni. Haru wore a black shirt and pants and wore crimson armored shin guards and arm guards, as well as a crimson breastplate and black cape. The reason as to why Haru was so different from the guards was because, unlike the others, he was not a normal guard, he was a samurai and the high priestess champion. He was also the best swordsman in Oni no Kuni. As Haru watched the children, one of the other guards named Shuta, who Haru was friendly with, came up to him. Shuta was a medium-built man who was slightly taller than Haru. He was in his early 30s and had spiky red hair with brown eyes and muscular face. He also wore the traditional outfit of a guardsman of Oni no Kuni and carried a straight narrow sword in its sheath on his left-hand side hip. You certainly enjoy watching the children play, said Shuta. Yes, I'm glad to see that Shion-san has someone her own age to be with, since she needed a friend for a very long time, replied Haru, where Shuta just grunted. The two of them continued to watch the children play until suddenly the 3 AIM nins appeared out of the tree line and quickly killed the other 3 guardsmen. Ninjas, cried Haru, as he quickly began to draw his sword out to face the enemy shinobis. As he did, he spoke to Shuta without taking his eyes off the AIM nins. Shuta. Get Shion-san and Naruto-san and head back to the estate where they are safe. I try to hold the shinobis off until you, said Haru, but cried out in pain before he could finish as he felt his back being slashed by a sword. As he fell down, Haru turned his head slightly to see who had slashed and saw that it was his friend Shuta that had done it, who was smiling cruelly as he slashed Haru from behind. Shuta, but why? Asked Haru as he lay on the ground bleeding badly. Simple to get rich, why else? The daimyo of Sawa no Kuni his will pay me a small fortune to help kill the high priestess, and once I help bring him the high priestess spoilt bratty pay, be double what I get for helping to kill the high priestess. You traitor, growled Haru, as he wanted nothing more than to slice the man in two with his sword. Huh. Like I care what you think of me, you will be long dead by that time, sneered Shuta, as he was about to finish Haru off, but before he could the aim nin named Kane came up to him. The brats are gone. What? Roared Shuta, they must have run off into the forest, as we were killing the other guards, we can't find them anywhere. You idiots, can't you do anything right? They're just kids, how hard can it be? We have to find them quickly before the high priestess finds out that something is wrong and sends out the whole guard after us, shouted Shuta, as he started to head into the forest. What about him? Asked Kame pointing at Haru who was still lying on the ground bleeding from his wound. Leave him with that wound, he will be dead in a few minutes from the blood loss, answered Shuta, as he continued into the forest. Unfortunately Shuta had underestimated Haru, since when he and the name nins had gone off into the forest after Naruto and Shion. Haru lifted himself up through sheer willpower and started to walk back to the high priestess estate as quickly as he could and get help. As he did, he prayed that the children could keep themselves hidden from Shuta and the aim nins until help came. 20 minutes later at the high priestess estate. Currently sitting on the porch of her private room, the high priestess Moroku was sitting down on a chair and relaxing a little with Tatuho, who was also standing next to her. The high priestess was taking it easy, since even though she was out of the woods in terms of the poison, her body was still weak and needed to recover. As the high priestess was relaxing, she suddenly two female heard voices loudly, as if arguing, and before she could have Tatuho investigate what was happening, Tsunade and Shizune, in the true form, since the high priestess knew who she was and agreed to Tsunade condition, along with Tuntun, burst into her room, where Tsunade started to look around while Shizune tried to calm her Tsunade down. I know I had it, Shizune, I just don't remember where I put it, said Tsunade angrily, as she tore the room apart as she looked around. After seeing this, the high priestess spoke up to try to help solve whatever problem there was with Tsunade before she destroyed her room. Is there a problem, Tsunade-sama? Perhaps I can help? Asked Moroku politely, since she did owe the women her life after all. As Tsunade continued to look around, Shizune decided to speak up. Forgive our intrusion, high priestess. It is just that my sensei has lost a very valuable heirloom belonging to her grandfather and cannot remember where she put it. Would the item you are looking for perhaps be a necklace with a green crystal on it? Asked the high priestess. You saw it? Asked Tsunade in surprise as she stopped looking around the room. Yes, I did. I saw your son Naruto had it around his neck when he met Shion and the guards when they were going to the park outside the estate. He had told me that the necklace was valuable and belonged to your grandfather. He had also told me that he found it in your bathroom and had looked for you to give it back, but couldn't find you, so he decided to wear it around his neck to keep it safe. When Tsunade heard this, the deep dark feeling she had been having in the pit in her stomach ever since she realized she lost her necklace grew. Tsunade prayed that nothing would happen to her son, but unfortunately her accursed bad luck followed true, as always, as a panic guard came rushing into the room. Lady Moroku. We have an emergency, cried the guard. What happened? My lady, we just found Haru Dono at the main gate and he was badly wounded. He told us, before he passed out from his wounds, that one of the guards named Shuta attacked him right when he and the other guards were attacked by enemy shinobis. He also told us that all the other guards were killed by the enemy shinobis and also said that Shuta and the shinobis were hired by the daimyo of Sawa to kill you and kidnap your daughter. Also, he told us that the shinobis and Shuta went after your daughter and her young friend who had run away into the forest when they were attacked. The moment the guard had finished speaking, Tsunade raced right past the man, who saw nothing but a yellow blur, with Shizune and Tuntun hot on her heels. Tatuho. I want you to gather as many men as you can and have them meet me at the gate in 5 minutes, ordered the high priestess. But my lady, you have not yet fully recovered from the poison, said Tatuho. I do not care if this is my daughter's life, and I will not lose her, rounded the high priestess angrily. Of course, my lady, said Tatuho, as he and the other guard ran out the room together, as many guards as they could. Please be safe, Shion, though Moroku, as she left the room to meet the guards at the main gate. At the same time, as the high priestess was giving orders out to her guards, Tsunade was racing out the gate with Shizune and Tuntun to where Naruto and Shion were last. Please be alright, Naru-chan, Please be alright, though Tsunade worriedly while also thinking, if any of those bastards have touched so much as a hair of my baby boy, they will wish they had never been born. Hold on Naruto and Shion, we're coming, just hold on, though Shizune, as she did her best to keep up with her sensei. Naruto and Shion. As the mothers of the two children moved out to save their children, the said children were running for their lives deeper and deeper into the forest, trying to keep one step ahead of their pursuers. Pant, did we lose them to Naruto-kun? Asked Shion as they hid behind a tree so that Shion could catch her breath. I don't think so, since the guys that are after us are ninjas, so I don't think we can lose them that easily, replied Naruto. But why are they us? What do they want? Asked Shion. I don't think they're after us, I think they are after you, answered Naruto. But why? Think about it, Shion-chan, your Ka-chan is the ruler of this country, you're practically a princess. That means they want to kidnap you and hold you for ransom, or someone hired them to kill you for some reason. Then what do? We have to keep running and find some place to hide until my Ka-chans realize that something has happened. But that still could be hours, since we weren't due back till later on, replied Shion worriedly. I know, but we have no choice, said Naruto angrily, since he knew he stood no chance against the ninjas, since they were all older and more experienced than he was. Not only that, but he also had to protect Shion as well, which made it all the harder if he had to fight. I don't see them anywhere, cried one of the ninjas nearby. Well, keep looking, they have to be nearby, cried the leader of the ninja group. Come on Shion, we got to keep moving, or they find us, said Naruto as he pulled along. The two children quickly crawled through bushes and moved as quickly and as quietly as possible away from the aim nins. After a few minutes, Naruto came to a stop and looked back to see if any of the aim nins were following them or were close by, but thankfully none of them were around. Shion-chan, I have an idea, if you hide here in the bushes I can use a jutsu to turn into you, and then I can lead them away from you when they follow me. No, cried Shion as tears started to spill from her eyes. If you do, then they could hurt you, or worse kill you for doing that. But Shion-chan, they won't, they are after you, not me, and they won't, I'm pretty good at keeping away and hiding from people, so don't worry about me. No. There has to be another way, we can still keep running and hiding from them together, I won't let you get hurt because of me. But this is the best way I can help protect Shion-chan, pleaded Naruto. I don't care, and if you try to do that Naruto, I will go out there and let them catch me. I won't let you get hurt because of me, spoke Shion stubbornly. Fine then, if that is the case then we just have, said Naruto before he quickly disappeared and reappeared behind Shion and gave her a chop at the back of the neck and knocked her out. Sorry Shion-chan, but this is the best way I can protect you, should be alright here, said Naruto as he caught Shion before she hit the ground and then gently put her on the ground behind some bushes. After which Naruto then quickly hexed Shion and started to run off near where the Amen nins were. The name nins. Where the hell did those brats go? Asked Ken. How the hell should I know, spoke Kame angrily. The two of you shut up and keep looking. If we don't find them soon, then the high priestess will send her men here to look and find out what happened, in which case she will send her entire royal guard as well as her samurai after us, and we will be finished, spoke Maku. Look there, girl, shouted Kame when she saw the disguised Naruto running through the forest. After her, Maku shouted as he and his teammates gave chase. With Shion. Groaned Shion as she woke up. When she finally regained her bearings, she quickly remembered what had happened to her. Damn you Naruto, why did you have to do that and be a hero? Grumbled Shion, if anything happens to you, I will never forgive you. She then quickly got up and started to retrace her steps to try and get out of the forest to go and get help, but unfortunately, as she tried to remember, she soon realized that she was lost. What am I going to do? I'm lost, and if I don't get help soon those ninjas may kill Naruto, thought Shion worriedly, and she tried to find something familiar that would help her get out of the forest, but unfortunately all the trees looked the same and didn't know which way they had come from. As Shion was trying to gain her bearings in the forest, she did not notice the figure coming behind her until it was too late. With Naruto and the aim nins. As the disguised Naruto ran through the forest, he turned his head slightly to see if the aim nins were following him. When he turned, he saw two of them, and before he could wonder about the whereabouts of the third, he suddenly found himself being grabbed by the third aim nin. Kame. Got you, "You little brat," smirked Kane, which ended quickly when he found himself holding a log with exploding notes on it, and before he could throw it away it exploded right in his face. Fortunately for Kane, the explosive notes that Naruto had used were low-grade ones, so the explosion did not kill him, but it did give him a few burns on his face and parts of his body that hurt like hell. Kawarimi no Jootsu, body replacement technique, thought the other two AIM shinobis in surprise. "How the hell did that brat do that? She shouldn't have any shinobi training," spoke Ken hotly. "Well, seemingly she does," replied Maku angrily. "Damn that fool Shuta, he never told us that the girl had shinobi training. This makes things all the harder." As the two AIM nins were talking, they suddenly heard some movement in the bushes and turned to their right and saw Shion running quickly from them. Maku quickly threw several kunai at the disguised Naruto, which he easily dodged, but unfortunately the kunai were never meant to hit him. Since the kunais had ninja wire tied to them so that when the disguised Naruto dodged them, Maku pulled the kunai back so that the ninja wire would wrap around him. But as soon as she was tied up in the ninja wire, she suddenly buffed out of existence. Kage Bunshin, Shadow Clone, 1. Though Maku was surprised before he had to move away to dodge a few dozen kunai. When the disguised Naruto saw that he had missed, he quickly moved out of his hiding spot since he had given his position away when he threw the kunais. But just as he did, he was suddenly grabbed by a strong pair of arms and found himself facing the AIM nin Ken, who in turn believed he was looking at a Shion. "I have you now, you annoying brat," said Ken. "You think?" smirked the disguised Naruto as he threw a pepper bomb into Ken's eyes, blinding him. "My eyes, you damn brat," screamed Ken as he dropped hold of the disguised Naruto and roared in pain as he held his hands in pain. After being let go by Ken, the disguised Naruto quickly tried to run away again, but was stopped when several shurikens were thrown in front of him and caused him to stop. After which Maku appeared in front of Naruto. "Alright kid, that far enough, you caused us enough trouble as it is, so why don't do a smart thing and come quietly with us and you won't be hurt," said Maku. "Let's not," smirked the disguised Naruto and throw a smoke bomb in front of himself, which covered both him and Maku and the area around them. After a few seconds, the disguised Naruto quickly ran out of the smoke-filled area and ran as quickly as he could, but as he ran he quickly found his legs being kicked away from underneath him and causing him to fall forward. But luckily Naruto was able to keep his wits about him, and as he fell forward, he threw his body forward, which caused him to flip forward and land on his feet. But as soon as he regained his footing, Naruto found a kunai blade against his throat with Maku standing behind him and holding the kunai in a reverse grip. "Nice try kid, but I'm a seasoned chunin from a megakure and a little kid like you doesn't stand a chance against someone like me. Although I give this, you're pretty skilled for a kid your age and you put up a good fight, you might have made a pretty good ninja one day." "Thanks, but I'm not done just yet," replied the disguised Naruto, and before Maku could even ask what Naruto was talking about, he suddenly felt several tiny explosions on his legs. The tiny explosions on Maku's legs were caused by exploding pouches that Naruto had secretly hooked onto Maku's legs during the smokescreen and had activated them right when Maku had caught him. Thankfully, the exploding pouches had distracted Maku enough to make him move away from Naruto, which gave Naruto the chance to quickly turn around and channel his chakra into his fist, where he then punched Maku in the stomach, where thanks to his training with his mother, Naruto sent Maku 20 feet away and right through 2 trees. Impossible. How on earth did a mere child gain such incredible strength? Who on earth has been training her? Maku lay on top of the ruined remains of the trees he went through since he couldn't move as his whole body was in pain. He knew that he had broken at least 8 ribs from smashing through the trees as well as from Naruto's punch. After punching Maku, Naruto began to pant slightly since he was still not used to using his mother's superhuman strength. After a minute or so, after gaining his breath, Naruto decided to start running again and get a head start away from the same nins before they could reorganize themselves and start chasing him again. As Naruto was about to start to run, a sixth sense that he had developed from and the training he had done with his mother told him to move away, which he thankfully did, since if he had not, then he would have had his back slashed from Kame, who looked furious beyond words and seemed beyond all reason, which was most likely due to the burns on his face that disfigured his face slightly. "Damn you, you cursed brat, I kill you for what you done to me," roared Kame as he continued to slash at the disguised Naruto, trying to kill him, completely forgetting the fact that his mission was to capture Xian and bring her in alive and unharmed. "Damn, that fool Kame was going to ruin everything," growled Maku as he lifted himself slowly up since he still was in a great deal of pain and saw Kame slashing a Xian with his sword who was dodging each slash. Naruto continued to dodge the Kame sword slashes for a minute or so, during which he tried to make a counter-attack that would give him a chance to get away from Kame, but could not since Kame did not give him one, since his sword slashes were relentless. It continued like this until Kame made a left-hand diagonal slash at Naruto's head, which in turn he quickly made a counter-clockwise spin to avoid the sword slash. This then gave him the opening he needed to strike back at Kame, since, as he spun back around, Naruto was able to come upon Kame unprotected left side and hit him with a supercharger spin kick. But just as Naruto hit Kame with his supercharged spin kick, Kame turned into a wooden log which shattered once it made contact with Naruto's kick. As soon as Kame turned into a wooden log, Naruto quickly realized that Kame had used a Kawarimi no Jutsu and had replaced himself with a wooden log. But before Naruto could do anything, he was blindsided by a kick to the head from Kame which caused Naruto to slam into a nearby tree. Luckily, despite being hit, Naruto was still able to hold his hinge, so he still looked like Xian, but even still he was still slightly disoriented from being hit and then slamming against a tree. When he regained his bearings, he looked around quickly for Kame and quickly saw him standing right in front of him with his short sword above his head ready to cut Naruto's head in two. "Prepare to die, you little bitch," snarled Kame angrily as he was about to swing his sword downward on the disguised Naruto. As Kame swung his sword down, Naruto could not help but try and put his hand up in front of himself to try and stop the blade, even though he knew they couldn't, and closed his eyes tight as he saw the blade coming while shouting out "no." And at the very moment that Naruto shouted out "no," a large wooden spike came out of the ground right in front of Naruto and impaled Kame right through the chest, lifting him in the air slightly so that he was slightly above Naruto. When Naruto didn't feel the sword slicing through him, he opened his eyes to see what had happened. When he did, he quickly regretted it, since right in front of him was the impaled Kame with blood coming out of his chest and dripping down that wooden spike. He also saw the dying Kame staring right at him with a look of complete shock and horror at what had happened to him. Blood was even coming out of his mouth and landing on Naruto's face, but after a few seconds life quickly left his eyes and he died. When Naruto saw this, he was completely frozen in horror at what had happened in front of him and did not understand what had happened. What happened to him? Where did that wooden spike come from? Did I do that with my Mokuton powers? But how did I do it? I didn't mean to summon it and do that to him. I just wanted to stop him, thought Naruto frighteningly, since he did not want to kill the man, plus he did not know how he even did it. Naruto was not the only person that was completely stunned by what he had just done. Both Ken and Maku were equally stunned. Impossible, a mere child killed Kame, and how the hell did that child summon that wooden spike, thought Ken in disbelief. Mokuton, thought Maku, as he quickly recognized the special ability of the Shadame Hokage which he had read about. How on earth can a child with no shinobi blood or link to Konoha have the power of its founder? It's not possible. As the two shinobis continued to stare at the disguised Naruto, who was still frozen from the shock at what he had done, in disbelief. Shuda appeared carrying a struggling Xian over his shoulder. "What the hell is going on here?" cried Shuda when he saw the scene in front of him. "Why the hell are you fools chasing after this impostor when I have a high priestess daughter here? What? But how can that be when we've been fighting her here?" spoke Ken as he pointed to the disguised Naruto, who was now getting over his shock at what he had done. "Then she must be a fake," said Maku as he suddenly realized that they had been fooled. "Xian!" cried Naruto when he got over his shock and saw his friends being held by Shuda. "Let her go," cried Naruto as he stood and glared angrily at Shuda, who just smirked. "Who's going to make me? You? Ha. I'd like to see you try, kid. You also might as well get rid of the disguise. We know you're the fake," sneered Shuda as he looked down at him. Realizing that the charade was up, Naruto realized his hunger to reveal his true self. "Just as I thought, you're the Xian little playmate, the healer's son. Naruto-kun runs away before they capture you," cried Xian as she struggled against Shuda's hold on her. "No, I won't leave and abandon you, Xian-chan," answered Naruto as he glared angrily at Shuda. "How sweet, you care about your little friend, but you should listen to her, boy, or just run away earlier than you might have lived then. But since you didn't, and because you have caused us so much trouble, you will have to die," sneered Shuda. "Shuda, Don't underestimate the boy who is more dangerous than he looks, look at what he did to Kame, warned Maku. All that shows me is that you shinobis are not as strong as you have everyone else believe, considering that you were defeated as a mere 8-year-old. I finish him off so that we can finally get out of here, we wasted enough time, as it is, said Shuta, as he drew his sword with his one free arm. Knowing that he did not have much time and could not make a direct attack against Shuta without risk hurting Xian, Naruto decided to try a jutsu that he had been working on for the past few months. The jutsu was one he had created himself, but had no real luck at being able to use it, but he knew this was his only shot at saving Xian and stopping Shuta. Please let this work, pleaded Naruto in his mind as he did 3 hand signs and slammed both his hands on the ground and channeled his chakra into the ground and cried out. Mokuten, Nkushinku, wood release, wooden tentacles. After which dozens of wooden tentacles from the tree nearby came out of the ground and started to wrap around Shiva's body, forcing him to let go of Xian and dropping his sword and then pulling him to one of the trees behind him. Mokuten. He did it again. He really can use the Mokuten power of the Shodaime Hokage, though a stunned Maku. What the hell, what's going on? Shouted Shuta as struggled against the wooden tentacles that pulled him to the tree behind him and wrapped themselves around his body, and a month later he was against a tree. Once Shuta was wrapped up in the wooden tentacles, Naruto quickly went over to Xian to see if she was okay. Xian-chan, are you okay? Asked the worried Naruto as he helped her up. Hi, I think so. Then we have to run before those other 2 ninja guys come after us, said Naruto as he pulled Xian with him and started to run. But unfortunately they did not get far before Maku and Ken captured them by throwing their surgeons, which quickly wrapped around their bodies and legs and stopped the children from running and further. As the 2 children tried to struggle free, the 2 AIM nins came and walked up to them. Once they got to them, Ken turned to Maku. So what do we do with the boy? We will take him with us back to Omegakure. What? But why? After all the trouble he caused us, and after killing Kame, we should just kill here and now. Don't be a fool, you saw what the boy was able to do and how well he fought, not to mention he has the Mokuten powers of the Shodaime Hokage. If we bring him back to AIM and present him to Hanzm-sama, we will be heroes since we would have brought him a child with the powers of Mokuten. Plus, considering how strong he is now, imagine how strong he would be once he was properly trained by Hanzm-sama, and if we got him to be loyal to our village, he could help AIM become the 6th great shinobi power. Not to mention he could start up a clan full of Mokuten users in AIM, helping it to become as great as Konoha, just like the Senju clan did for them, speaking Maku with earnestness. After hearing this, Ken could not help but agree with Maku, since the boy could be the key to AIM gaining untold amounts of power and glory. Not to mention if you combined his power with their leader Hanzm, then AIM would become powerful enough to challenge even Konoha. After that, both the AIM ninjas agreed that once they brought Xian to the Sawa, Daimyothi would bring Naruto back to AIM with them. But just when the 2 AIM nins were about to pick up the 2 struggling children, Maku saw something heading towards them at the corner of his eye and quickly shouted, "Move," to Ken, where they jumped away. As soon as they had moved, they saw that the object that was about to hit them was a massive tree that was thrown at them. When the tree flew past them, the children crashed into several more trees nearby and destroyed them completely. What hell though, both AIM nins when they saw that the object was a tree. Once the tree crashed into the other trees, the 2 AIM nins started to look around as to who or what had thrown that tree at them. When they started to look around, they quickly saw who had thrown the tree, since the person had appeared right next to the 2 tied-up children. When they saw who the person was, their faces quickly went ghost white, and both of them took several steps back in fear. For right before them was none other than Senju Tsunade, the Slug Princess, and one of the Densetsu no Sannin, legendary 3 ninja. But what scared the AIM nins the most was that she looked furious beyond words. But if the AIM nin thought they were in trouble before, what Naruto said next made them wish they had never laid eyes on Naruto. Ka-chan. Once they heard Naruto utter those words, the 2 ninjas knew they were dead men. Tsunade of the Sannin had a child, though Ken in surprise and in fear, since he knew what would most likely happen to him now. The boy is the son of Tsunade. No wonder the boy is so strong and has Mokuten powers of the Shodaime Hokage, he's his descendant. No matter what, we need to get back to AIM fast and report this to Hanzm-sama immediately, though Maku. But just as he had finished thinking, that he made eye contact with the vengeful-looking Tsunade and nearly shitted himself from the murder look in her eyes. He then knew that the chances of them escaping, let alone surviving, were very slim. As Tsunade glared at the two terrified aim nins, Shizune quickly appeared behind her with her senbon needles out and ready. Right next to her was also Tuntun, who looked ready to fight as well. "Shizune, take Naruto and Shion away from here. They don't need to see what I am about to do to these two bastards," Tsunade said without taking her eyes off the two nins. "Hi Tsunade-sensei," replied Shizune as she quickly picked up two tied-up children and ran off to somewhere safe with Tuntun following behind her. As Shizune ran off carrying the children to safety, Tsunade then focused her full attention on the two aim nins. "You bastards made two mistakes today. The first was that you bastards took the job that the daimyo of Sawa no Kuni hired for, and the second was you threatened and attacked my son," spoke Tsunade as he roared the last part and released a massive amount of killing intent that practically made the aim nins shit themselves. After which Tsunade then leaped forward into the air and quickly came falling down to the ground, doing a falling axe kick while crying out "Stinkyaku, painful sky leg," after which she landed right between the two aim nins and created a gigantic crater. Both Ken and Maku barely jumped out of the way of the massive attack, but had several large cuts from the debris of the attack. Her strength is monstrous. How can she even be human? It's no wonder she and her former comrades were able to survive battling against Handsome-sama with power like that, though Ken was both in awe and fear of the sight of Tsunade's superhuman strength. "Shit, we have to get out of here now, and fast. We don't stand a chance against one of the Sannin, especially one that is a mother," thought Maku, as he knew that a mother protecting its offspring was dangerous enough. But the fact that Tsunade was both a mother and a cage-level shinobi made her 10 times more dangerous than she usually was, and the worst type of person anyone would want to face against. "Ken, we have to get away from here now, we're no match for her," shouted Maku to his comrade, who nodded and was about to run, but before he could, Tsunade appeared right at him and delivered a massive uppercut, breaking his jaw and sending him flying into the air. After Ken could even register what had happened to him, Tsunade appeared again over him in mid-air and delivered another massive falling axe kick, hurtling him down to the ground and creating a massive crater and killing him, as well as breaking every bone in his body at the same time. Once Maku saw what happened to Ken, he tried to run but was stopped by some senbon needles hitting him in the back of both his legs and causing him to fall forward to the ground. When he turned around to pull the needles out, he was just able to see Tsunade falling towards him from the air, with her fist smashing down into him. Once her fist connected with Maku, his body exploded from the sheer power of her strength, where Tsunade was then left in the middle of yet another massive crater, but this time covered in the blood of one of the aim nins. After dealing with the two remaining aim nins, Tsunade turned and looked over to the impaled Kame. Once she saw that he was impaled with a wooden spear, she quickly realized what must have happened. After which a new surge of rage came over her and she began to wish that she could bring the aim nins back to life just so that she could kill them again, but this time slower and more painful for what they forced her innocent son to do. After she had disposed of the aim nina bodies and stripped them of anything useful, Tsunade then turned again to the struggling Shuta, who was trying, but failing, to get out of the wooden binds. As he struggled, he saw the blood-covered Tsunade heading towards him. As she slowly walked over to him, he could feel a potent killer intent coming from her, as well as see a dark menacing aura surrounding her. This made her seem like she was some goddess of death, which was made more believable to Shuta due to the fact that she was covered in blood and he had seen her butcher Ken and Maku with frightening ease. As she came up to him, a pungent stench could be smelled coming from him and a large wet spot was seen between his legs. Once Tsunade reached Shuta, she grabbed him by the neck and forcefully pulled him out of the wooden binds and held him up with a vice-like grip around his neck. "You should consider yourself very lucky that I'm not going to kill you, since if I was, I would do it very slowly for trying to harm my son and Shion. But since I need you right now, I'm going to let you live for now, since I want you to tell me what the daimyo of Sawa wanted you to do, and if you have better not lie to me. Because I know if you do, and if you try, I will turn you inside out and throw you into a vat of salt. Are we clear?" spoke Tsunade, to which Shuta just nodded and started to spill his guts to Tsunade. A half hour later, after Shizune had taken the children with her, she ran off to a clearing a bit away from where she and Tsunade had found the children. She then untied them, and after hugging Naruto tightly for still being safe, she began to check the children over for any injuries, which thankfully were minor with small cuts and bruises. When Shizune had finished looking over the two children, she asked Naruto to tell them what happened, but when she asked Naruto, he refused to speak or even look at her, as if he was ashamed of doing something. Seeing this, Shizune grew concerned and tried to get Naruto to speak, but he wouldn't say a word. Shizune then asked Shion to tell her what had happened. At first, Shion was unsure if she should tell what had happened, but when Shizune pleaded with her and she saw the concerned look on her face, Shion decided to tell Shizune. Shion then began to tell Shizune everything that happened about how the guards were ambushed and how they were chased by the named nins. As well as when Naruto knocked her out and disguised himself as her, and then how she was captured and how she was brought to where Naruto was fighting the named nins and how he defended her until Tsunade had arrived. When Shizune heard Shion's side of the story, she could not help but feel a mixture of emotions after hearing the story. Although she was extremely proud of her godson little brother-nephew for protecting his friend and being so brave. She was even amazed that Naruto was able to hold off 3 fully trained Chunin by himself and was able to create and use a Mokuton jutsu that he himself created by himself without any help. But still, she was extremely angry at him for putting himself in harm's way by acting as a decoy for the AIM nins to follow him where he could have been killed. But Shizune held off her anger since she still did not have the whole picture as to what had happened, since she still did not yet know what really happened in the fight between Naruto and the AIM nins, since Shion was not there to see it. Shizune then went over to Naruto and gently put her hand on Naruto's shoulder, who flinched slightly at her touch and spoke to him gently. "Naruto, I know you don't want to talk about it, but please tell me, since I want to help you, since I know something bad must have happened to you between those ninjas and you. I would like to know what happened there as well," said a familiar female voice. When the group heard the voice, they all quickly turned around and saw Tsunade, not covered in blood, since she used a water jutsu to wash away the blood, dragging an unconscious Shoota behind her. "Sensei, are you alright? What happened to the AIM nins?" asked Shizune. "I'm fine, Shizune, and those bastards have been dealt with," replied Tsunade simply. "Now, as I was saying, I would also like to know what happened. Although I have heard most of what happened from this bastard, where Tsunade lifted the unconscious Shoota and then dropped him on the ground, and I have a fair idea of what happened, I still like to hear it from you, Naru-chan." Even after his mother asked to hear what, Naruto did not answer and continued to look at the ground. Just when Tsunade was about to ask him again, Naruto suddenly spoke up. "If I tell you, you will hate me and think I'm a monster," and said Naruto with tears in his eyes, and before he could say any more, he was suddenly enveloped into a strong hug by his mother. "Naru-chan, I could never hate you, and you have never done anything wrong in your life. We all just want to help you, that is why you should tell us. Because if you bottle it all up, it will hurt you later on. Talking about things like this to people usually helps." For the next few minutes, Naruto said nothing and just cried in his mother's arms, but after a while he stopped. He then told them everything from how he led the AIM nins away and fought them to how he killed the AIM nin, came with his Mokuton powers, and protected Shion. When Naruto was finished, he then looked to his mother with tear-stained eyes. "Sorry, Ka-chan. I didn't mean to kill that man, it was an accident. I swear, please don't hate me," said the upset Naruto. The next thing Naruto knew, he was enveloped is another strong hug by his mother, who was now crying herself. "You don't need to be sorry, Naru-chan, it wasn't your fault, you didn't do anything wrong. If anyone to blame, it's them for forcing you to do it, and me for not being there to protect you when you needed me." As the mother and so cried in each other's arms, Shizune and Shion watched them, since neither of them wanted to interfere. As she watched Tsunade and Naruto, she herself started to cry, since she blamed herself for what happened, since it was her idea to go out here and it resulted in her guards being killed and her friend having to kill someone. Shizune was also crying a little, and when she saw Shion crying and blaming herself, she went over to comfort the poor girl, since she believed it was all her fault at what happened. Thankfully, Shizune convinced her that it wasn't her fault, but the girl continued to cry a little. As she did, Shizune looked over Shoota and could not help but glare angrily at the unconscious man. Since if there was anyone to blame, it was him, since he was the one who told the AIM nins where to attack. As he glared at the man, she wished that she could get her hand on the man and perform surgery on the man while he was awake and without any aesthetics, and remove his organs one by one for putting the children in harm's way, since she hated when children were harmed, and for making her godson nephew little brother kill a man. After a while, when everyone had calmed down a bit, Tsunade, Shion, Shizune, Naruto, Tun-Tun, and the unconscious Shoota, who was being dragged by Tsunade by his left foot, walked out of the forest. When they were out of the forest, they were met by the High Priestess Moroku, along with 80 royal guards and 20 samurai. "Oka-san," cried Shion when she saw her mother with the royal guards and samurai. "Shion," cried Moroku when she saw her daughter and quickly ran over to her and hugged her tightly. "Thank the heavens that you safe," said Moroku, after which she then turned to Tsunade, who was under her special Genjutsu Henjigen along with Shizune. "Thank you, Hana-san, too. Not only did you save my life, but also the life of my daughter. I'm forever in your debt." "Do not thank me, High Priestess, thank my son Naruto. He was the one that protected her until I had arrived, and had he not, it would be certain that she would be in the hands of those shinobi's and on her way to Sawa no Kuni now," replied Tsunade. "What exactly did the daimyo of Sawa no Kuni want with my daughter?" asked the High Priestess slightly angrily, since she wanted answers. "He wanted to take over your country and absorb it into his own, since with you dead your country would be without a leader and be easy to take over. When the first attempt failed, he had the name Nins and this Shuta bastard to kidnap your daughter and hold her from ransom. They would have you go to a certain place with minimum guards and kill you. After that they would bring Shion to the Sawa daimyo, and when she reaches marrying age he would marry her. So that when he took over your country it would be a legal takeover since Shion is your daughter and rightful ruler of Oni no Kuni, not to mention he want your bloodline power to see into the future," finished Tsunade since she found the whole plan disgusting, and when she first heard it, she punched Shuta lights out. "He will pay this as," spoke the High Priestess furiously, as want to make the man pay for what he did. "Here. This will be very useful in handling him," said Tsunade as she tossed a rolled up scroll to the Moroku. "What is it?" asked Moroku as she caught the scroll. "It's a letter from the daimyo of Sawa to this bastard," said Tsunade pointing to Shuta again, stating for him to help with the kidnapping of your daughter Shion and the assassination on you. The idiot had it on him when I searched him. This will prove what the daimyo of Sawa no Kuni tried to do, and if you release the news of what happened here and this letter proving the Sawa daimyo underhanded tactics, which will put him in a bad spot with the other nations. Especially with Konoha since you are our ally, and I don't think he will mess with both Oni no Kuni, its allied nations, and Konoha all at once, so it will have to sue for peace on your terms." "Thank you, Hana-san, I owe you much," said Moroku to Tsunade, after which she then kneeled down to Naruto to face him. "And I owe you even more, Naruto-san. Thank you for protecting Shion." "You're welcome, Moroku-san," said Naruto quietly with a sad and weak smile, which caused the High Priestess to ask Tsunade what happened since he was not himself. When she asked, Tsunade told her that Naruto had accidentally killed one of the ninjas when he fought them. At this the High Priestess gasped, an unshed tear threatened to fall as her heart went out to the poor boy, since no child should have to do what he had to do. This just made anger at the daimyo of Sawa grow and swore she make the man pay heavily for what he had done. "I'm truly sorry for what you had to do to Naruto, and I will not forget my debt to you. Thank you," spoke the High Priestess as she knelt down and hugged Naruto in gratitude for what he did for her and her daughter. After she got up, she had her guards take Shuta from Tsunade and place him in the dungeon under heavy guard when they reached the estate and be kept there until he was fully interrogated and was tried for treason. After the guards took Shuta away, the group started to head back together to the estate. Later on, a month after the event with the attempted kidnapping of Shion, things started to settle down. News of the failed kidnapping attempt on Shion spread, although information on Naruto and Tsunade involvement was kept secret per Tsunade request. When the allied countries of Oni no Kuni, which included Konoha, learned of the daimyo of Sawa's attempt to kidnap the High Priestess's daughter, with the letter proving his involvement, they immediately started to put heavy political pressure on both the daimyo and his country. They threatened to place an embargo on the country, as well as threatening to declare war if he did not make deftly compensations for what he had done. Eventually the daimyo of Sawa no Kuni complied and had to give a very large sum of money to High Priestess and give up rights to several territories and hand them over to the rule of Oni no Kuni. During that time Naruto, Tsunade, Shizune, and Tuntun continued to stay in the estate to monitor the High Priestess's health until she fully recovered, as well as to help Naruto deal with what had happened. It had taken a while, but eventually Shizune and Tsunade, with a little help from Shion, helped Naruto come to terms with what he had done and deal with it. Afterward, Tsunade even let Naruto keep her necklace since she had a feeling that it would be useful to Naruto later on in his life. Once Naruto had come to terms with it, Tsunade decided that it was time for them to start moving again. "Must you leave? You are all more than welcome here, and both Oni no Kuni and myself owe all of you much," said High Priestess Moroku. Indeed, we can never thank you enough, said Haru, who had recovered from his wounds. Yes, considering what happens earlier, if we stay we may draw attention to ourselves, which is something that we wish to avoid, as we have told you, so I think it would be best if we leave, replied Tsunade. Very well then, but know that you are all more than welcome to come back again, for you are all honored heroes here, and when the time is right everyone in Oni no Kuni will know of it, said the high priestess. Thank you, I shall return one day, replied Shizune, as she bowed slightly. We look forward to that day, since we can then honor both you Tsunade-sama and you Naruto-sama properly for saving both Shion-san and Lady Moroku, said Totsuho, as he bowed respectfully to them. I'm going to miss you Naruto-kun, you were my best friend, said Shion sadly, as tears began to fall down her eyes since she was losing her only real friend. What do you mean by best friends? We are still best friends, and nothing is going to change that, said Naruto, as he went to Shion. Here this is for your Shion-chan, said Naruto as he handed Shion a small potted Satsuki azalea bonsai tree that he had hidden behind his back. This is something for you, so that you can remember me by. It's a Satsuki azalea bonsai tree that are not that many, since they are hard and slow to grow, but it was no problem for me. The adults of the two groups could not help but smile as they saw Naruto give the small bonsai tree to a blushing but smiling Shion, who took it from him. It's beautiful, thank you Naruto-kun, said Shion, as she then did something that surprised everyone, especially Naruto. She gave him a soft but gentle kiss on his left cheek. When Moroku saw this, she was surprised at first like the rest, but that turned quickly to a smile, especially when Shion moved away and Naruto began to blush red from what she had done. The high priestess even giggled like a schoolgirl when she saw that her daughter was now as red as a cherry from what she had done and had her head down trying to hide it. It seems that Shion has a little crush on Naruto, though Moroku giggled again and thought how cute the two would be if they got together. Both Haru and Totsuho were equally surprised but then smiled. When Shizune saw this, she could not help but giggle as well. They look so cute. Shizune thought Naruto was going to get a lot of teasing about this from me later on. Even Tuntun cried oink in laughter at what happened. The only person that was not laughing or smiling was Tsunade. Just great, it already started. These little harpies are already trying to steal my innocent Naru-chan from me, though Tsunade, as she started to grumble. But if she thinks she can sink her claws on him then she's got another thing coming. After that Tsunade and the others started to walk away, as they did the high priestess, Totsuho, Haru, and Shion waved goodbye to them. After Tsunade, Naruto, Shizune, and Tuntun were out of sight, the high priestess and the others head back into the estate. As they did, the high priestess suddenly turned her head slightly and spoke to her daughter. Well Shion, now that you have gotten yourself a little boyfriend, when should I start planning the wedding? Oka-san, cried an embarrassed Shion, as her mother along with Totsuho and Haru laughed at the young girl's bright red face. Well, Naru-chan, you're growing up to be quite the little ladies' man since you already got your first girlfriend. Soon enough you have loads of girls chasing after you, giggled Shizune. Oink, cried Tuntun in agreement. Can it Ni-chan, Shion not my girlfriend, cried a still red Naruto. I just hope that Shion-chan kisses don't have any cooties. Well, didn't you say that she was your friend and she is a girl, so that means she is your girlfriend doesn't it, teased Shizune. She is not my girlfriend, I mean she is a girl, and she is my friend, but that doesn't mean that she is my girlfriend I mean it does, but she is, cried Naruto, as he held his head in confusion at what he was trying to say. While Shizune just giggled at embarrassing the poor boy. Maybe we should give Naru-chan the talk. Tsunade-sensei? Asked Shizune innocently, although smirking at the reaction she knew Tsunade would have. Over my dead drunk body, cried Tsunade. There's no way I'm going to let any of those little harlots try and corrupt my sweet baby. While at the same time thinking this wasn't happen so soon, things like this wasn't supposed to happen till puberty. I'm not ready, I'm too young to deal with this. At this Shizune just laughed at Tsunade's reaction and continued to tease and annoy both her and Naruto about Shion kiss for the rest of the day. Thanks for watching my video. Leave a like if you enjoyed my video and also do consider subscribing to my channel for more awesome content. If you want the next part of this story, let me know in the comment box. See you next time, till then sayonara.